Hi, it's Maggie the Irish Gypsy here to bring you your March 2000. Spirit's way of keeping us laughing. I forgot where I was. This is Maggie the Irish Gypsy and her crazy hair. This is for the March 2018 general readings. Welcome to everyone here. Welcome to any newcomers. Thank you always for your like, share, subscribes, and all your support, feedback, and comments. Keep them coming. And always a special thank you to all of my clients out there, both my regular clients and my new ones, for keeping me so joyfully and happily occupied and busy with the personal one-on-one readings. If any of you are interested in a personal one-on-one reading with me and you've not read with me before, or you've forgotten the information, you can go to my YouTube channel's homepage, click on that little About button, which will give you a bit more information in detail on what I do, the services I offer, and also has my contact details. You'll also find all that attached to the description of all the videos I post as well. You can email me directly at maggie1maguire@gmail.com. I would be delighted to work with you. Turnaround time for personal readings is usually pretty quick, as I do readings full-time, 5 to 6 days a week. It is what I do. So I can usually fit you in a live or recorded reading. Anywhere from a few days upwards of 2 weeks. Almost always within a 2-week period of time we can schedule a reading for you, live or recorded, so email me if you're interested. I do readings in all areas of life: love and romance, career, work and finance, channeled messages, spirituality. I have specific spreads I use for relationship compatibility, reconciliation potential, as well as 6 and 12-month overviews, which explore what's coming in your life over the next 6 or 12 months, depending on how far ahead you want to look. So send me an email if you're interested, and we will go from there. If you're not looking for the more traditional in-depth readings, you just want to connect with me, really fast or pretty quickly for a short quick little, maybe you have a quick question or two, you have a decision you need to make quickly. You can also find me on the smartphone app Instantgo under Irish Gypsy. That's also with my contact details. And they have a one question, one answer option, or you can open it up for a little reading via text. They also have a phone audio option and a video chat option as well, so you can connect with me pretty quickly. Often immediately or within the hour or within a couple of hours, depending on, if I'm otherwise occupied, or if it's the middle of the night, of course, I'm not going to be able to answer it. But it's a good way of connecting with me pretty fast. If you don't want a traditional in-depth reading, you just have like a quick question or two or something you need to make a decision on, you can find me on Instantgo app under Irish Gypsy. That link is with all of my contact details as well. So moving right along, this reading is for the air sign of Libra for March 2018. Check your rising and your moon sign videos as well, because these are general readings and they're going to resonate differently for everybody watching. Okay, Libra. We begin with the 5 of Swords, followed by the Lovers. We have the 4 of Cups, followed by the 2 of Swords. We have the 6 of Swords, followed by the Knight of Swords. And we have the 10 of Cups, followed by the Empress. From the bottom of the deck, your overall energy and guidance for March 2018 is the 5 of Wands. So what I'm getting first and foremost, Libra, is a spirit is telling me you definitely have the ability to reverse some of what's going on. It's not a bad reading. In fact, the last half of it is quite lovely. There's a lot of peace and healing and restoration, maybe even some reconciliation or getting over a major argument or stopping a bad behavior pattern. I think for a lot of you it's within a relationship, within a significant relationship, primary relationship. A lot of you maybe love and romance relationship. But it looks like there's some conflict around it, and it's petty conflict too. So I want to get the message out first and foremost. Spirit is saying that a lot of what you're having conflict about within an important, significant, or primary relationship in your life, it's like the same old argument over and over again. You may be arguing about something in the past, and there's nobody winning and nobody losing, but no clear resolution. Nobody's out for blood, but there's no clear resolution. It's petty squabbling, circular fighting, which is what the Five of Wands represents as overall energy for March. And Spirit is telling me that you can, the energy of this card can be greatly lessened and even negated completely by paying attention to what's important and not getting drawn into the same old petty argument, kind of recognizing what's truly important here and not about who's right and who's wrong and he said, she said. How important is it to be right? How important is the issue? That felt very specific for those of you who need to hear it, particularly if you're having difficulty within like a soulmate, passionate relationship or friendship of some kind. Because wanting to come out on top or wanting to come out ahead or wanting to be the one who's right or winning may cost you a significant relationship or a primary relationship, because we have the Five of Swords and the Lovers here. So the Five of Swords is a card technically of victory. This can sometimes be a tricky card to read. It's technically a card of victory because the man on this card, he's just finished a battle, a challenge, maybe even a competition of some kind, and he's the victor. He's obviously won. His opponents or foes or competitors are on the ground behind him. They're defeated. Obviously defeated. He's gathered up all their weapons, their ability to hurt him, and he's holding his own sword aloft in victory. Woohoo! But there's not really a woohoo kind of feeling. The colors are still kind of murky and bleak. He looks tired, exhausted. He's bleeding from a little cut on his forehead. This is a victory which has cost him. And the accompanying question to the Five of Swords is it worth it? Has it been worth it? Is it worth continuing it if you're still in the middle of this battle? Sometimes the answer is yes. Sometimes this is a battle that needed to be fought, needed to be won. It was a hard-won battle, so sometimes the answer is yes. But sometimes the answer is no, because you're being asked to examine what is it that you were fighting for? How important really was it? And the cost at which it comes may be the cost of personal relationships, because sometimes the defeated people on the ground behind him can represent relationships that you lose at the cost of being victorious or coming out ahead. For example, in sometimes business or career readings, this can represent being so ambitious and so focused on getting ahead that you maybe step on other people in doing it, or you lose track of friends and family or partners because of it, and you do end up getting to where you want to go, but it costs you like personal and emotional connections and relationships. So be aware of that. What is it that you're fighting for, or that you were fighting for, and is it really worth it? How important is it? What does it mean to win here? Now, it's clarified and accompanied by the Lovers. Major Arcana card often represents that karmically connected soulmate, passionate relationship union. I mean, the Two of Cups is considered the soulmate card too, but it can sometimes represent best friends that transcend into something else, or just another closely connected relationship. The Lovers often represent a love and romance relationship that's very karmically connected or very passionate. You can see there's no lack of heat in this relationship. And it also often represents needing to make a choice. Actually, in the early tarot decks, this was not called the Lovers, it was called the Choice. It showed a man standing in front of two women, the implication being he had to make a choice, which is going to significantly impact all three people. This doesn't necessarily mean that you're choosing between two people. Maybe for some of you it could be. But it represents needing to make an important, significant decision, which will have a significant impact or effect on an important relationship, most likely for a lot of you, your primary relationship. Sometimes this can mean that the decision needs to be made about a relationship, and sometimes it's you're in a partnership and it's a decision that the two of you are making together, which will have an impact on the relationship. Like if you get a job offer and you decide to move out of state or out of country, of course it's going to affect your life together, so it could be that as well, or it could be just about the relationship itself. Because of the nature of your overall energy, which is that conflict, that petty squabbling, that eternal circular argument, and then coming out victorious, being right, winning, But I feel like for a lot of you, the risk is that it may cost you this relationship. And for some of you, this may be a battle that needed to be fought, and it's coming at the cost of a personal relationship. And maybe that's what needs to happen for a smaller portion of you. But I think for a larger portion of you, I mean, it's going to resonate differently because, you know, it's a general reading. There's many of you watching. Everybody has different things going on in your life. And I mean, certainly if you're in a relationship with someone and it's truly negative and toxic or abusive, of course it's a relationship you need to disengage yourself from if there's no healing possible there. It's not the kind of relationship we're talking about here. Although maybe for some of you it might be an unhealthy relationship, and it might be that disengaging and moving forward is what's needed. But I'm feeling a stronger energy towards a stronger group of people that you're fighting with someone about the same thing, or the conflicts that you're having. Spirit is saying you're focused on what's unimportant. You're focused maybe on being right, about winning, about he said, she said, you know, about who's right and who's wrong, and you're being asked to focus on really what's important, because it looks like you may have lost sight of you and your partner, or this other person may have lost sight of what's important. And these are energies which can be greatly lessened or even negated if you choose not to follow this pattern of petty squabbling and conflict and focus on, okay, I'm really fighting on being right, or I'm really holding on to something within this relationship and I'm refusing to back down or to see it from a different perspective. When you're being asked to, and it may end up costing you this relationship. So there's that sense at the beginning of the month, and then next we move into the Four of Cups and the Two of Swords. The Four of Cups is a card about being sometimes emotionally disconnected, not plugged in, like the shine has gone off of something, or you've lost your zest for basically what's going on in your life, or a particular thing, or just life in general, even though what you have may appear to be quite nice. I mean, this man looks really disconnected from the goblets he has, which can represent that he has a pretty good life, pretty good blessings, opportunities may be coming his way. Just doesn't look like he's into it. It can be a card. I sometimes refer to it as the boredom and gratitude card. Maybe you have a good life or a good relationship or a good job or whatever, and for some reason you've lost sight of it. And maybe some of you've lost sight of it because you're so focused on something else, on coming out ahead somewhere else, or with something else, or with someone else, and you've lost sight of the beauty and joy and the blessings of what you have and what you might have, and being kind of reluctant and resistant to kind of look at that. And I'm sorry, Libra, if this comes off as a bit of a lecture. I don't mean it to, but maybe it kind of needs to a little bit for some of you. You may have it feels like you've lost sight maybe of what's important, and it could be for some of you it's your partner that's lost sight of what's important. People are too fixated on being right. They're forgetting why they're together, what's important, what it used to be. And there's a sense of kind of furiously holding on to, I'm right and you're wrong. And you've lost kind of the gratitude and joy and appreciation for what you have, and not really wanting to look at it, which can be what the Two of Swords represents. It can represent feeling stuck, being at a crossroads. Twos usually represent duality, crossroads, time to make a choice. She's blindfolded. It can represent not knowing what to do, but it often represents a reluctance and resistance to look at something that's in front of you that needs to be addressed, that you need to make a choice about, address something, kind of the head in your sand, dusting around the big pink elephant in your living room, but furiously denying its existence, kind of. Isn't that a great scenario? And again, it could be you or it could be your partner. Whatever the conflict is about, Spirit is saying it is not as important as you are thinking, or you've gotten yourself believing that it is. And then, so the last half of the month, although time is somewhat fluid and it's a general reading, so for some of you this could be ongoing for the whole month, the last half of the month looks really beautiful. And I feel like I need to stop here and pull some advice cards because there's this transition into a lot of potential for healing and starting over again in a really beautiful way. I don't usually do this, but I just feel compelled to, so I have to follow that. So a more mindful outcome for the month, or more mindful advice for your focus for the month other than just this conflict. Why do we do these readings? Forewarned is forearmed. We can change this. Spirit said at the very beginning of the reading, we can change this. So if they work very hard, or that they work very intentionally on taking a step back, what do I really have to be grateful for? Have I lost sight of what's important? How important is this fight? How important is it to be the winner? And approaching it from a different perspective and a more humble perspective. What is the more mindful outcome if they do this? The Six of Cups. Not the Five of Wands and the Five of Swords. Not all this conflict and potentially losing an important relationship. The Six of Cups. It's a card primarily can be associated with the past, reminiscence, nostalgia, childhood, looking back, roots of origin, parents, where you grew up. It can also be looking at things through rose-colored glasses, which we did when we were children. See, these children, it's about a time when you felt more carefree, more childlike, when things were newer, fresher. You didn't have this jaded, kind of bored, ungrateful, sort of unappreciative sense. Children are very much about living in the moment and really connecting and enjoying the simple joys and blessings and gratitudes for their life every day, every moment. And with that brings a natural baseline level of happiness because you're not burdened with cares and concerns about what's important, because when you're young, the simple things are important. So a more mindful outcome, if you take Spirit's advice, is this energy, which is quite beautiful and quite lovely. It's a card about seeing everything in the beautiful, simple reality that it is and enjoying every minute of that. Now, so around the middle of the month or so, we have the Six of Swords and the the Six of Swords and the Knight of Swords. Thought I read that wrong for a minute. Six of Swords is a card of peace, healing, restoration. You're leaving the choppy, turbulent waters behind you, and you're moving into smoother, more peaceful, placid waters. It is a card of healing. And healing itself is a process, and sometimes it can be painful, particularly in the beginning. Some days are better than others. I mean, think of like having surgery and healing afterwards. But the healing process means you're getting better all the time. So this is about leaving the worst behind. You're moving into a better place. It's transitional, meaning you're not quite to the other shore yet, not on solid ground, but you're definitely moving towards that in a healing process. It's a quieter, more somber card, but it's still a beautiful, positive, peaceful card. A strong theme of healing. And it's accompanied by the Knight of Swords. Knights usually represent something being brought, offers opportunities. Swords is intellectual energy. It's internal psychological energy. It's about how we look at things, our belief systems, information. It's information and messages and logic, not hampered too much by emotions. The Knight of Swords would be bringing information. He'd be very, maybe even blunt, right to the point, because it's all about truth, clarity, illumination. It's sometimes called the inconvenient truth card because it can represent receiving news, information, or messages, or a perspective, like somebody telling you exactly where it is if they feel you haven't been seeing it exactly how it is. And what it is truth. It's reality. Maybe kind of hard to hear, difficult to take, but it is the truth. And that brings this sense of movement finally out of this conflictive, stuck energy, seeing something and accepting it. Okay, this is the truth. And that's what begins to prompt this healing process, moving into the healing process, particularly if it's a relationship issue, Scorpio, which I feel like for a lot of you it is. Might not be. If this doesn't resonate for you, watch your rising and your moon sign, because it may be more predictive for you. But a lot of you, this has something to do with a significant relationship. So looking at something the way it is, taking a step back, different perspective, reconnecting with what's important, asking yourself what's important, seeing the reality of it. Maybe a little difficult process. You're well up to it though. And that creates a healing movement. Let me clarify that energy. What is this important information and this important truth or clarity that could potentially prompt this information if it is accepted and embraced? Something just popped up on my screen. Go away. For a different and more mindful outcome. I don't usually do the readings this way, but Spirit is prompting me because it seems very important that for some of you this beginning of the month situation can be reversed. So what is this truth? What is this importance that you need to see? The Two of Cups. You have the Lovers and the Two of Cups both in this reading. So for a lot of you, this is that primary soulmate kindred spirit connection. What is the important truth you need to look at, you need to connect to, that could potentially promote the beginning of this healing process? The Two of Cups, soulmate relationship. What is a soulmate relationship? What is a healthy, balanced relationship all about? Is this person, for some of you, it's looking at the person you're with that maybe you've been arguing with, blah, 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 same old argument. You've totally lost sight of why you first were together, or what you really have together. Maybe your partner has, and it's about reconnecting back with that. This is a karmic connection. This is more than just physical and chemical attraction. It's a meeting with the mind, the heart, the soul, the spirit. Divine timing and orchestration is at play here. Now, for some of you, although I think it's a smaller portion of you, this may be a relationship that you need to sever or move away from. And what's coming to light, which might be difficult to deal with, is seeing the truth of that. And that can be difficult. I don't often share personal information in my general readings. And I have a wonderful partner that I've had for some number of years. But I was married for 17 years and then divorced. And it can be really difficult, particularly when you still love and care about the person, to all of a sudden one day, maybe it's in the middle of a fight or something, the same fight or whatever, and all of a sudden you get this clarity, this epiphany that, you know, this is never going to go to this other place. This is never going to be what I need it to be in a relationship that's healthy for me. And moving on from that, severing from that, moving on from that can be very difficult and challenging, because all of a sudden it becomes evident to you what you need, what's healthy for you, and that prompts a moving away into a and it's healing. Healing processes have their painful days, but it's about recognizing and embracing the truth of that. And that may be true for some of you here. For a larger portion of you, this is more of a reconciliation, having a fresh start, reconnecting with what's important. And for a smaller portion of you, it's about seeing the truth of the reality of a situation and kind of moving through and away from that. So it just depends on which Scorpio you are. Either way, the energy fundamentally remains the same, even if the specifics and details vary, which they always will in general readings, because there's so many of you watching, right? Either way you look at it, at the end of the month, the energy is magnificent. There's healing either way you look at it, which regardless of which story is yours or not. And at the end of the month, we have this beautiful energy, the Ten of Cups and the Empress. The Ten of Cups is traditionally nicknamed the Happily Ever After card, the Happy Home card. Tens represent cycles ending or fulfillment, culmination, fulfillment, achievement. Cups is water in the tarot. This is emotions, feelings, happiness, relationships. That place in that life where you feel, particularly in connection with home and family, that the pieces have come together again. Everything is just the way it should be, and you're feeling such a sense of happiness and joy and contentment. It's the Happy Home card, or the Happily Ever After card, whatever that might mean to you. So the Happily Ever After ending or the Happy Home card might mean different things to different people, but whatever it means for you, this is the fulfillment of it. Now it's accompanied and clarified by the Empress. Beautiful card. It's a card of fertility. The traditional Earth Mother of the tarot. Sensual, loving, nurturing. All about the seeds, the babies, the fertility. Sometimes it can be literal fertility. It can mean getting pregnant, conceiving, childbirth. The Ten of Cups can represent marriage, childbirth, home too. The Empress represents fertility. And what does fertility mean, even if it's not literal fertility? It means that the season is right to plant seeds, because it's about the time is right for conception. The soil is right, the season is right, the temperature is right. It's time to put the seeds in. And that can be kind of a challenging period too, because what happens when we plant seeds? in the hopes of manifesting, growing something down the road which will be abundant and fruitful and end up giving back to us. Well, we dig a hole and we put seeds in the ground and then we cover them up. And from the outside looking at it, nothing's happening. It takes a while. We look, we wait impatiently. I don't see anything. But underneath the surface, things are happening furiously. Things are germinating and growing and uncurling until finally one day you see that little bit of green poking its head above the soil, and then you can see the process beginning. But it's always happening, even if you can't see it in the beginning. So the Empress is about that the time is right to plant those seeds and nurture it and take care of it. So typically when the Empress shows up, it's usually a good sign, a green light. It's good for new relationships, new beginnings, new paths, new jobs, new projects, getting pregnant, conceiving. It may be that for some of you. Some of you at the end of the month might be getting married or finding out that you're pregnant, or something to do with that area of your life as well. It can be reconciliation energy if for this mindful outcome for those of you who are having relationships that are having a lot of issues. Again, we already went through the advice. Focus on what's important. Take a step back. Whatever the truth is, embrace it, even if it's difficult. That's where your healing is, and that's what puts you on the path that leads to the area of your life that deals with love and relationships and home and harmony and family, new beginnings, new starts, whether that's in a reconciliation, a fresh new start in an already established situation or relationship, or whether that's disengaging from what you're in now and putting yourself on the path that leads to that. It's time for these new beginnings to start. Regardless of which side of the story you're on. There's this saying, I think it's Chinese in origin, that the best time to plant a tree is always going to be 20 years ago. But the second best time to plant a tree is right now, here today. So that's your ending advice, Scorpio. And that pretty much sums up your March 2018 general readings. This one took a little longer than the others, but that's the way it happens sometimes. I hope you've enjoyed it, that you found it useful and hopeful and helpful, because that's why we do these readings. I will see you all again in a couple of weeks for the March 2018 general mid-month readings. Until then, as always, I wish you joy, peace, blessings, and a happy life. And if you're interested in a personal one-on-one reading, just go to my YouTube channel's homepage, click on the About button or the description bar of the videos I post for more information and my contact details. See you soon, Scorpio. Bye-bye.